Welcome, everyone. It is July 7th, 2024, and this is the Morgellons Think Tank Call of the Week. And I'm Robin, the co-host. I'm so glad to be here with you guys. I hope that you had a wonderful and safe 4th of July. And so we're here to offer solutions and paths to wholeness for Morgellons, Lyme, and other skin parasites. And as you know, it is an overwhelming, isolating, horrifying disease. And it's really hard to find, it's a lot of times when we discover that we may be infested with Morgellons or mites or ringtails, we live in panic mode, and so it's really hard to find true solutions that actually work. We're grasping at straws, and that's why I feel so blessed to have found Richard Kuhns and his book, How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites, because it led me to the path of getting well. And I believe Richard is a world-leading expert in Morgellons. It's not just head knowledge for him. He has it's boots-on-the-ground knowledge. He's been in the trenches. He's suffered with many of these things, and he's come out the other side. And his book, is it 13th or 14th? I always forget. 13th edition, it's like an encyclopedia of things you can do, how to up your game, how to get more aggressive, how to get the diet to work. And, everyone's a little bit different, and their paths are parallel, but not exactly the same, never exactly the same. Today we also have a wonderful guest speaker, Lucy, who is the I forget what you call it, the administrator of the Facebook group for Morgellons and other skin parasites, and it should be a really exciting, interesting call. So at this time, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Lucy and Richard, author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites.
Thank you, Robin. It's always a pleasure to be here. And today we are very fortunate in that we have Lucy as our guest, who's the administrator, as mentioned before, of the Facebook Morgellons, and with over 5,100 members. Lucy, hi, what beautiful hair you have. Incredible.
I've lost 50% of the volume through Morgellons.
Really? And that's what's left?
Well, it's because of the humidity in Florida. Otherwise, yeah.
Wow, it looks incredible. It looks incredible. So, now, as I understand it, you have your own experience or personal experience with Morgellons. Could you share with us your trek, how you found out it was Morgellons, what you went through, what doctors and all, the history, a story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. And my journey began in September of 2019 when my daughter was on her way for a little mini vacation for a week to Jamaica, and she had a little Maltese dog and asked if I would watch the dog. I had initially said I've never had a pet before. I love pets. But I said to her I was going to watch the dog for him. But then she ended up with a house guest, and I didn't want the house guest to feel like I was monitoring them. So I said, never mind, the dog is my big mistake. So, second day, I had the dog.
Can you turn up your volume a little bit?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So, on the second day of my dog sitting, the dog loved going out in my yard, but now she refused to go into the yard, and which I thought was a little odd, and she started scratching. And I thought, uh-oh. So on the third day, I messaged my daughter in Jamaica and said, does the dog have fleas? And my daughter's like, what do you mean fleas? Of course she doesn't have fleas. Again, not being a pet owner, I associated scratching with fleas. But by the 5th day, I started feeling a little itchy myself, so I thought something is up. I bathed the dog, which was great for the dog, so it gave her relief, but I didn't understand enough of what was going on. So I ended up picking up something that she brought in from my backyard. So it wasn't fleas, but I didn't know them. Fast forward, my daughter comes home, it's now 9 days. So the second my daughter left with the dog, I literally ran upstairs as fast as I could, showered, my scalp was on fire. It was so itchy. That was the first, that's where I believe I got infected with my scalp. The next day, I went to a walk-in clinic, and I asked the doctor if he had lice or something. He checked, and I was so disappointed when he said no. And he actually laughed and said, I've never had anyone come in here and be disappointed, but I didn't know what else to do. So now this is probably the 11th or 12th day. I started thinking it had to be, what else was it possibly be? Now my body's getting itchy. So I contacted a company to come terminate. And they did me a huge favor. They actually came that evening. And the poor guy walking around my home said, ma'am, he said, I'll pray for you, but I don't see any signs of food. So anyway, I paid him $375. He prayed for me. And 2 days later, I'm even itchier than I was then. So they came back, they prayed again, but I kept seeing something kind of jumping once in a blue moon. Couldn't figure out what it was. And fast forward, I went through being all over the process. I have 4 skin fibers. I have 3 on my scalp, 1 on my wrist. And my family doctor at one point thought that I might have AIDS. And at that time, I didn't know what they were. So I asked the person, right? I said, oh, God. And I said, okay, whatever. I said, I'll do whatever I need to do. So I did the semester treatment. And then later, I ended up doing the second semester treatment. The only relief I got was the evening that I actually did treatment. The first night I slept in a while, but it just progressively got worse. So fast forward, I had a very hard cold, and I was eating, fasting. I was hearing things, then I have another sofa. I started talking blood instead of my bed. It was easier to wipe down the antibacterial wipe. So I put my sofa, and at that point I did. And again, it just progressively kept getting worse. I would jump up.
Excuse me, Lucy, it's hard to hear you. You're not coming through clear. I'm trying to hear. I'm tuned in to every word you're saying, but I'm missing half of it.
Yeah, it seems that when you speak slowly, it comes through, but when you speak normally, you can barely, the volume just goes way out.
Okay, I'll speak slow. So, after wondering what was biting me, I started using white bed sheets so that I could catch or see a bug. And what I was finding were these little black specks. So again, at that time, I did not have a microscope. I had my phone, but I could never see legs. I could never really identify it as any kind of a bug. And anyway, after seeing my family doctor, I had been to 2 dermatologists. Now it's January of 2020, and I flew to Florida because I have a vacation home in Florida, and I ended up in a hospital 3 days after I arrived. I was violently ill. I had already lost 17 pounds without trying. And I had no appetite. I was itchy. I had itchy. So when I got to the hospital, they said I had all sorts of bad bacteria throughout my body and in my gut. They put me on a heavy-duty antibiotic, piperacillin, and that doctor tried to admit me, but my insurance was giving me a hard time. So unfortunately, I couldn't stay, or I chose not to stay because I didn't know what my expenses were. Needless to say, I flew back to Toronto and back and forth to Catherine Hall. I've been to probably more than 100 different doctors.
How many doctors?
More than 100.
100 doctors. Wow, you get. We've had people that have been to 40, but 100, it's over the top.
Yeah. And so I also have Crohn's disease. So every opportunity that I had to be in front of a medical practitioner, I never mentioned the word Morgellons, but I would tell them about my symptoms in the hopes that one would have an epiphany and say, oh, I think I know what this is. And sure enough, that day actually came for me. There was a dermatologist who was an older gentleman. I somehow felt a little comfortable with the demeanor, and after about 5 minutes, I asked if he would be willing to look at some photographs, and he said, sure. So I showed him approximately 50 photographs, and within seconds, he was doodling on his prescription pad, and he wrote the word Morgellons, circled it, and then said, you have mild Morgellons.
Wow, that's incredible. And had you any idea that you were dealing with Morgellons before he wrote that down?
In the January of 2020, when I was in Florida, I was spending at least 16 hours a day online Googling my symptoms. And somehow I ended up on a site that had Morgellons. And so the symptoms aligned with what I had, but also Lyme disease seemed to line up with what I was experiencing. So I wasn't sure, but I thought, this is great. When I get back to Toronto, I'm going to tell my family doctor that I think I figured it out. That, unfortunately, was a mistake. So she insisted I go see a psychiatrist. But yes, that was the first time I actually learned the word and was doing research. But, you know, even an integrated group of medical doctors that I had gone to see, I paid to go see them in December of 2020. And the best they could come up with was I had Lyme-like symptoms. And, you know, but so nobody was willing to say I had Lyme disease because I've been tested 3 times, and all 3 times have been negative, twice in Toronto and once in Florida. Florida, actually, they had to retest it because it was borderline positive, so they retested and then said, no, it was negative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how did you come to be administrator of a Facebook group?
So the very first group I joined, so again, once again, it was all through just Google, and there was a Facebook group in Australia, of all places, that was called the Sticky Lint Roller, something to do with Morgellons and a Sticky Lint Roller. Which was interesting because I was using the sticky lint roller already for
right.
weeks because I wanted to capture whatever was irritating me. And so from that group, I started learning more and more about people's symptoms. And then others were saying, oh, there's these other groups. So I had joined the Morgellons group, a few of them, in the U.S. And because of the people that I associated myself with, which was the owner of the group and a couple of those administrators who helped me immensely, made me feel comfortable and welcome, because at that point, my family thought I was losing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there was nobody you could really speak to that could appreciate what I was going through. And that from being there over time and learning as much as I could, as quickly as I could, and helping myself, I was able then to help others. And I have to say, I had sworn up and down, and I prayed a lot through that if I could ever get through this, I would make it my life's journey to help others get through it as well. And that's why I'm still doing this today.
That's my story. I thought I would end up killing myself. It was that bad, and I never thought that I would ever get my life back. And I said if I could, I'd be a beacon. And that's what I attempt to be today to others, to help others get their lives back. You're familiar with some of the books on Amazon about Morgellons? Dr. Saverly is probably the most prominent one.
So I have not read her book, but I have read excerpts from her book. So I'm familiar with Ginger. I know of the book and I know of her, and I do have people that I've met through the groups that I'm very close with, and we keep in touch regularly. They are patients of hers.
Right. In fact, we have one person on the call today who is also working with her. But in her book, she states unequivocally that Morgellons is not contagious, and the reasoning being she has been treating patients for, 35 years that have Morgellons, and she has never acquired it. And for that reason, she feels that Morgellons is not contagious. What is your take on that?
Okay, so in the early days, I was scared that I might be contagious. That was my very first question in the group, right? And that's like the $5 million question everybody asks. But I have spent time with my daughter and my two grandsons. So my one grandson was about 2.5 at the time, and then my daughter got pregnant with my second grandson. I didn't hold him until he was more than 3 months old. I was petrified. And even to hold him, it was wrapping him in 2 receiving blankets, and having my daughter hand him to me. And then when I was done holding him, I would ask her to unravel the one blanket and then remove him with the other blanket. That's how paranoid I was. So based on my own personal experience, I do not believe it's contagious. My dermatologist, who understands somewhat of Morgellons, has also said to me, no, you're not. It isn't something that you can contract that way. So that's left me feeling somewhat better, but I'm still not 100% convinced. So I have not contaminated anybody, but I'm still not 100% convinced based on other people's experiences.
This seems to be a big area of, I guess, dissension among the experts, those associated with the Charles Holman Association. I don't know if they're still doing it, but prior to COVID, they were holding a convention every year in Texas and inviting people to attend, and they have constantly, Dr. Saverly and everybody else has come to the conclusion it is not contagious. But on my end of the world, it is, but not to everybody. Maybe to 1 out of 50, maybe to 1 out of 10, maybe to 1 out of 200. I don't know. My personal experience is that I have given it to someone else. And I have gotten, we have it's not a big list, maybe a list of about 7,000 people in our list. And over the years, I've had many emails from people, I didn't solicit it, I didn't ask for it, that inform me they caught it from their boyfriend, or they caught it from their girlfriend, or they caught it from somebody staying over. And I can't call them liars. I really can't. So what I have found, and what we have maybe stumbled upon, is that why some people are susceptible to it and others are not may have to do with their pheromones. Mm-hmm. And in fact, there are some pheromones that we had for a while, and I'll probably get them back in the store, that were really effective. People apply the pheromones, and because, do you think there's a cure to Morgellons?
At this stage, no. I believe you can put it into remission, but I have yet to hear anyone say that they're completely cured.
I agree with you. There is one person who's relatively new, and she has a site up, and she's, based on her experience, she claims that Morgellons can be cured, that there is no cure. It's like the common cold. You can get over it and be normal, but you come in contact with that virus or whatever it is again, and you got it again. It's as simple as that. The only difference I find is that once you know how to get your life back, the next time it doesn't have to be a life-altering event. You can do the things that you did and get your life back. In our case, we use the diet, and we disinfect the environment and clean our skin, and we get our lives back. And it doesn't have to be a life-altering event. But there is no cure, absolutely not. The other thing, in Dr. Saverly's book, she points out that, seems like I'm picking on her, but I have to. She has 233 reviews on her book. Mine has 277 reviews, and yet she states things in there that I vehemently disagree with. She says basically that anybody who tells you you have to disinfect your environment is, what do you call it, a snake salesman? You know, snake oil salesman?
Interesting.
What do you feel?
If I did not do what I did to disinfect my environment, I don't think I would be here in front of you today. There were days, Richard, I literally would be in tears. I had no energy. I had not been sleeping. I was fatigued. I was feeling like I had vertigo. My eyesight was all over the place, and I had no energy at all. But I would have to vacuum and clean my house every single day. Laundry, I was double bagging everything. It took me a while to sort out a handful of clothes that I didn't care if blacks and whites got mixed together, but everything, I started just wearing a handful of things, and everything would go into super hot water in the washer, the hottest cycle in the dryer, and at that stage, I bought clear plastic bags. They would go straight from the dryer into the bag, get sealed, and that's how I lived. So if I did, and still today, people think I'm crazy, but I don't care. I still say to people, I treat myself as being contaminated and my environment as being contaminated. And as long as I keep thinking that way, I am cognizant of, I'm not as bad today, but that's how I survive. That's how I would tell anybody to approach this. And I think that is what actually saved me.
Yes, I agree 100% with you. In fact, I have found over the years that the organisms are not all the same. They don't respond the same with one person that they might be with another. And again, even though you can contract them at different times after you've gotten over them, they don't necessarily have to be of the same variety. You know, we can't really identify them. We don't really know what Morgellons is. But for some of us, and me in the early days, simply spraying with ammonia was all that was required. I would just spray my bedding, my furniture, and that was it. And anybody that wrote me and told me that, well, they're using ammonia and it's not working, I would think, well, it must be something wrong with their head, you know, but I didn't say that, you know. I never tried to invalidate somebody, never, ever. And over the years, and Robin came along a few years ago, and she seems to have had a more resistant. I've learned a lot from her. So ammonia isn't always the answer. So in my book, we have like a step-up thing. If this doesn't work, then you go to a triple pesticide. If that doesn't work, then you go to the electrostatic sprayer and the means of applying the... So each person has to figure out what works in their disinfection. Same is true with laundry. Me, I would just put laundry, ammonia, a cup of ammonia in the laundry, and that was it. Some people have to pre-soak it for an hour in ammonia in a tub and then put it in. Then they do it with enzymes. Then they do it with borax or something else, or our laundry soap. And then they got to put it in the dryer, and they have to add in ammonia in the dryer. And then they have to bag it in Ziploc bags, and they have to wear gloves while they're doing this. I mean, so it depends. Everybody's different. It's not one formula fits every person. It's a matter of figuring out what works for you and being ready to go to the nth degree if necessary. She basically also says in her book that in terms of organisms like Collembola, you're familiar with Collembola?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, she basically only devotes maybe 1 or 2 lines basically saying they're not an issue. Now, I can understand she wrote the book to appeal to physicians and get them working and acknowledging Morgellons. Her book is called The Legitimization of a Disease, which is what this is all about, because as far as the CDC says, it's not a real disease. You're supposed to go to your psychiatrist, like your doctor sent you to the psychiatrist. Like many people that I have worked with have gone to their family doctor and on the spot been committed to the institution with their husband standing right there sending them.
Yeah.
So it is not recognized as a disease, unfortunately, and we have a long way to go. But she basically comes out and says mites and Collembola are not an issue.
Well, I have a completely different experience with that, because what I had assumed I was seeing fleas that were jumping once in a blue moon wasn't a flea. It was actually a springtail. So much to my surprise, because at that time, again, I didn't know anything about springtails, right? These are things that I would never in a million years have been concerned about. And it was so embarrassing that I was actually a director on a board, and it was a provincial board, and we would meet regularly. So here's a person who isn't sleeping, a person who's completely unwell, doesn't know exactly what's going on, and I will never forget having, and this is during COVID, right? This is the beginning of COVID, when we hadn't really understood enough about COVID and people were still meeting. So I'm in a boardroom with a small group of people, and we were sitting apart from each other, and I put my briefcase beside me on a chair. And as we're going through the meeting, I'm seeing things from the corner of my eye jumping. And I'm like, oh my God. And I thought, what on earth I didn't know it was a springtail at the time. I said, oh my God. I said, what on earth is jumping out of my bag? I just thought maybe some kind of a bug or a mite. So I just nonchalantly lifted it up and then put it on the floor a few feet behind me. That was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And then one day so now imagine you see my hair now. It was twice as thick. So I only use a pick in my hair. I don't use a comb or a brush. And I was doing it outside on purpose because I couldn't figure out what was on me or in me. And one day while I was picking my hair outside in front of a car so I could see in the mirror, the reflection in the window, I had my cell phone in one hand and the pick in the other, and one actually jumped out and jumped onto my phone. So I saw it from the reflection, and it jumped onto the phone. So I got a picture of it. So
Did it wiggle? Did it wiggle?
Well, it has like a little bend in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took a photo of it, and I thought if anybody ever says that these things don't infect or infest people, that's a bunch of baloney. They sure do. We become full of moisture, and we attract not only just them, we attract all kinds of bugs. I had spiders that will go out of their way and literally jump on me and sit on my lap. And one got to a point, I was up north with some friends because they said, oh, you need to get out of your house. Come and stay with us for a few days and maybe you'll feel better. And I thought, what a great invitation. So at nighttime, everything's quiet, and it happened 3 times. Nobody else but just me. I was petrified. I had this little tiny spider that jumped up onto my lap, and it stared at me like I was its mother. I mean, it was awful, awful, awful. So yes, I do believe in Collembola, and yes, it does infect people.
It's interesting. I had one lady send me a picture. It was not a very good focus picture, but it was a spider that she claimed came out of her body with 16 legs.
Oh.
Wow. Now, as far as Collembola goes, probably back in 1996, well, I didn't even know what Collembola was. I remember that I was in bed, and I for some reason I looked at my forefinger, and on my forefinger there was a little tiny thing standing up, and it was waving at me. And I had no idea what the hell it was. It was just interesting. In fact, it wasn't until 2006 that I realized that what I saw was a springtail, and that I was infested with springtails for starters. Now, in some regards, I am very lucky and very fortunate. Not in the suffering that I went through, but I didn't get all of them at once. I have a questionnaire many people complete and send in, and it is not uncommon to find people dealing with both Collembola and Morgellons at the same time, probably as much as 80–90%. Now, how do you tell? Well, I discovered how to tell the difference from my own personal experiences. Because when I was initially infested with Collembola, I didn't have Morgellons. I had no filaments, no fibers. Of course, the word Morgellons wasn't even coined until 2002. And even in 2006, when I wrote the first book, that was called Soothing the Itch Within and the Diet to Control It, did I understand what Collembola was and that there was a difference between Collembola and Morgellons. So my initial experience was with Collembola, Strongyloides cervicalis, and back about that time there was some guy going around saying there is no such thing as Morgellons. Everybody's got Strongyloides cervicalis, and he was selling his diet that had soy and stuff like that. And I was new at it. I didn't know. I was pretty green, and I was thinking, well, I had Strongyloides cervicalis. Maybe it is just, and I hadn't Morgellons at that point. I had not contracted Morgellons. So I knew that the jumping around the ankles was definitely Collembola. Feeling it, that look, they feel like mites. I mean, they feel like fleas, but you can't see them. Most people can't see them. You must have very good vision that you're able to see them. Usually people around 2015 vision are able to see them, but most of us can't see Collembola that well, particularly when it's against the skin. And then around 2002, the National Pedullosis Society did a study that they took probably, 22 people who were diagnosed as having delusional parasitosis, and they did microscopic study and reported in that study that even it had to be an experienced microbiologist in order to be able to actually see, but in those 22 people, it was like 20 out of 22 were infested with Collembola, which is amazing. So if you take that, and of all the millions of people who are diagnosed as having delusions of parasitosis, that says there's a hell of a big number of people out there suffering from skin parasites. Really, I mean, it's amazing. But so I realized that infestations around the eyelashes, you're feeling a crusty eyelash, is associated with Collembola. Usually around the back of the neck, lesions there can be associated with Collembola. Can also be to some degree, but not so much with Morgellons. Strongyloides, that pretty much the symptoms were pretty much the same. I couldn't distinguish which was more one than the other. And I also tested positive for Lyme disease. Now, I worked with Dr. Harvey, the late Dr. Harvey, who was associated with Morgellons disease at that time, and he only recommended Lyme disease be tested with microscopy, which I had, and have pictures of the red blood cells bursting open and giving birth to the Lyme disease. Then later on, not until maybe 5 years ago, did I acquire Morgellons. and I noticed a tremendous big difference. I mean, my first indication was a lesion that popped up in like within hours, a tremendous big lesion with filaments coming out of it. Fortunately, I knew what to do, and got dissipated it within a week or so. So I'm kind of blessed that I didn't have it all come to me at once, and that I was able to take it in pieces to know what the differences are from being infested with Morgellons versus being infested with Collembola versus skin fungus. Do you find many people dealing with skin fungus?
Absolutely. And so I belong to a number of skin mite groups as well, because, I was told I likely had scabies, which would have been a secondary issue because I was insisting was getting bit by fleas. And so I joined skin mite groups, and there's some I see where they're posting photos, and you can see the filaments, and you're like, you might want to private message me, because they're trying anything and everything to kill scabies or a mite, but they also have another issue. So I'm not discounting that they may have mites and or scabies, but they're not going to get better unless they actually understand that there's another problem there.
Were you also dealing with mites?
Not to my knowledge. So what's interesting, though, Richard, is the biopsy on my wrist came back positive for arthropod, but the dermatologist that did that test was December of 2019, and all he said to me afterwards was, well, the test on your wrist came back positive. And I said, oh, great, what was it? He said it was a bug bite. And I said, I told you. I said, I knew it was a bug bite. I said, what kind of a bug am I dealing with? I said, how on earth would I know? He says, I'm not an entomologist. I said, but you took chunks out of my scalp and my wrist, right? And so, but it wasn't until probably 9 months later that I went online onto my own medical chart, and I found the test result that came back from the lab. And so he never told me arthropod. He just said a bug bite.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bug bite. But so that was the first time. So was that arthropod, was it a mite? Was it scabies? Was it springtail? I don't know. So I don't know what I tested positive for, but something was definitely living and biting me.
Yeah. I remember very early on, mites were an issue with me. Well, I got infected in my backyard. I have tall pine trees, and there are vines that grow up, and yearly I would go out and pull the vines down, and one of them came down with a cloud of dust, and that changed my life. 4 days later, my life became a living hell. And there were sparkly things all over my skin, and I guess I surmised they were spherical eggs of these organisms. I don't know for sure, but I was infested with mites, and initially I thought this is a mite issue and went to doctors and I really got nowhere. But for me, the mites, they were there, and they were not the big problem. Yet for many people they are, and for many people they become subcutaneous. And if you talk to all the experts, mites can't live under your skin. Collembola can't live under your skin. They're just a minor occurrence. You go in, you take a shower, and you get rid of them. And that's not true. So we're fortunate that we work with Dr. Luna, who has a cancer clinic in Mexico. And he uses Lefiniran and Fenben with all of his cancer patients. And over the years, we've developed a good relationship, and he found and suspected that maybe a medication called Natimperam, which is also used for fleas, might work for mites. And he introduced that, and it's been really great. I mean, you take one capsule of Natimperam, and all blood-sucking organisms that are in your body are dead within 30 minutes. It's that fast. But unless you deal with the environment and get them out of the environment, because you have eggs laid everywhere, and there's a gestation period of about 21 days, so it's not over that quick. It's it's been very beneficial. So there are some other differences between. I feel like we live on two planets. The Morgellons Association, they feel that all of it is connected with Lyme disease. And there's a fellow, his name is Jeremy, who's definitely into spirochetes, and Dr. Middleveen, the veterinarian microbiologist from Canada, finds that the spirochetes are on the on and in the filaments, and they it's Lyme disease. Not everybody who's got Morgellons everybody's got Morgellons has got Lyme disease, except there's one study, a pilot study, that said only 90% have Lyme disease. Well, what's your take on that?
I don't believe that everyone that has Morgellons has Lyme.
I did.
Yeah, well, in the early days, I didn't know any better, but as time has progressed, no, I have some different symptoms. And to your point earlier, Richard, even though I have Morgellons, you have Morgellons, doesn't mean that my symptoms and yours align, because and what worked for me at one stage doesn't work for somebody else. So that was hit and miss. But yeah, I don't know that everybody does.
You're right on, because if you look at the Morgellons people, at least the people I've worked with, not everybody's got Lyme disease. It almost killed me. I mean, 12 years ago, I was basically ready to jump in the grave. It was that bad. I'm 99.9% free today because of the supplements that we use. We use a natural antibiotic. The prescription antibiotics that long-term physicians use, even the CDC says, do not use prescription medications, antibiotics long-term, because they destroy the gut biome, they destroy the mitochondria, and they destroy epithelial cells. Now, when we think of epithelial cells, we think in the skin. Well, what the hell? The Morgellons is doing a good job already. Why do we want to destroy them? But the epithelial cells are also in the gut and other areas of the body, and they are not good. In fact, I've had many people over the years who have lost the ability to digest food because of being on long-term antibiotics. It is a nightmare. So we're fortunate that we have found allicin. Allicin is a derivative of garlic, and the researchers in the UK, Peter Josling, figured out how to take garlic and extract the allicin from it, because as soon as you open up a clove of garlic, before it hits your mouth, the allicin is gone. It's been deteriorated. And and we also boost glutathione. What is dismaying for me is that of all the experts, Klinghardt, the other experts in Lyme disease, none of them talked about boosting glutathione. And if you do the research or look at the research, Lyme disease loves a cesspool. Lyme disease thrives in toxicity. And the first thing glutathione does, boosting it gets rid of all that. It detoxes, it gets rid of that cesspool. And when I started adding glutathione back around 2016, my symptoms diminished of Lyme disease by 90%. And I wanted to learn everything I could about boosting glutathione. And then when I added allicin, about 4 years later, boom, I detoxed immediately. My knee became like this again. The pain was unbearable because I detoxed. And allicin brought me back to 99.5%. So it can be natural. It doesn't have to be prescription. Prescription antibiotics are not good. But I'm not here to treat, cure, mitigate, or treat any disease. I'm not a doctor, and I provide a direction. And everybody's supposed to take my suggestions to their doctor, who doesn't know what glutathione is in the first place, but that's what the law requires. Discuss it with your doctor to make sure they do not interfere with any health problems you presently have. The AMA tells us that we are not doctors. We do not diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate. We can educate. We can educate you how to clean your skin, how to build health and immune functioning, how to disinfect your environment, and how to use diet to kill Morgellons. That's what we do. So it's really been amazing. I love having you with us today, and I love to have you come back again and again, because you have such a positive influence and great demure. And I can hear you now. Whatever you're doing now is different. I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because you faded out a couple times, so maybe it switched to you.
And maybe.
But I agree. One thing that you just said there, Richard, I took doxycycline 100 milligrams daily for 5 months, and that was early on. So it wreaked havoc on my body, on my teeth, and everything else. However, I do believe that of all the errors that I made, that was maybe one of the positive ones, because I think it actually helped kick some of the stuff out of my system. But after that, I said no more, and it's been vitamins and supplements and clean eating that helped me get well again. It wasn't overnight, but it definitely helped me immensely.
Right. So I agree 100%. I always was an antibiotic man, and I always looked for penicillin if I was coming down, and but I've learned since then that, and I was on, Dr. Bransfield here in Middletown was my physician. He's associated with the Charles Holman Association. He's a very wonderful, a fantastic physician. I was on 6 months of the Zithromax, Biaxin, and Biactrim in rotation, along with Mepron for I believe that's for the I forget the organism, but it didn't keep me from almost dying from Lyme disease. And so, okay, we may as well go right into the Q&A. We don't even have to stop and start recording. I'm sure we can. People may have questions of me, of Lucy. Robin, do you have any questions of Lucy or like to comment? Sharon?
No, I'm good. This has been great.
Today.
Sharon's good.
Covered everything. I kind of had to step away, so I missed some of the valuable points, but I'm going to go back and look at the video. I want to know, Lucy, what is it that you do to your hair?
I did want to mention
how do you care for your hair?
Red light therapy can make your hair thicker.
Therapy is what you use?
No, it's just the humidity. Honestly, it's the humidity. I've lost 50%. You can see all the little ones growing back now.
Yeah, me too. It thinned it out, but I didn't cut it. But as the protocol says to cut, I do want to mention that. And I also want to mention that if you don't cut your hair, just be ready for the ride, because it's a long ride.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, I think I mean you basically you're in remission, right, Lucy? You're not symptomatic. You're good now.
I am. I'm so good.
That's great. Once you're in remission and you're not symptomatic, you're normal again.
Pretty much.
The interesting thing I did want to mention that are you aware of the use of medications such as ORAP by psychiatrists when dealing with skin parasites?
He was on one. She mentioned it in the beginning.
No?
But no, I've never, so I didn't even go see, when my GP said I had to go and see a psychiatrist because I wanted a Lyme test, and I said, no. I said, you're the one who told me I had a secondary issue, and until such time as we deal with the skin, she could see all the lesions on it. And when I say lesions, mine weren't the same lesions as everybody else. So I didn't get the big craters, thank God, but I had little, they were, at the time I didn't know, but there were fibers poking out of my skin.
Right.
So, yeah, and I said, until this goes away, I'm not seeing a psychiatrist because I have a problem.
So, I was on that. I missed that train of thought because I was mentioning that not everybody who has Morgellons has exactly the same symptomatology. Some have filaments that are microscopic and you need a 60-power scope. Others are long and can be white, red, blue, black. And, another thing, one fellow, in fact, he's taken over a Facebook group, and in his statements he says, anybody, something to the effect, anybody who believes that filaments move is nuts or crazy. I mean, well, I've had so many people tell me that the damn filaments do move, and it's not because of wind currents. They do move and have that capability. So we have people with all different kinds of filaments. We have some people who don't even have lesions. Many people do have lesions of different sizes and variations. Some people have biofilm. It could be gooey, black goo, white goo, yellowish goo. And many people don't. Some people have a lot of itching. Some people don't. I mean, everybody has it different. It's not the same thing. And there are many different cofactors I found. Lyme disease certainly can be a factor. It wasn't for me, but Lyme disease can be a factor. So I've had people write me and say, you know, Richard, you don't know what you're talking about, because I went to a doctor and he finally diagnosed me having what is this monocyl a typical standard bacterial. Everybody can get it. And I took this and it cleared up and my Morgellons went away. Well, that was his cofactor. Mm-hmm. My feeling is that Morgellons is like a chessboard. The king is Morgellons, and all the other, the queen, the rook, all the pawns, they're all different kinds of cofactors defending the king. If you identify and deal with that cofactor, boom, Morgellons is gone. In fact, I saw a video, and it's the only video that I would say is worth watching that has to do with chemtrails. And I have it, it's published in the book, but the fellow that was interviewed was ahead of the HAARP program that is involved with it. He for many years, but he basically says that these chemtrails, somehow we breathe in, and there's these little microbots that whatever are there, and they're supposed to be harmless, only supposed to be, and some of them go awry. But he claims the antidote for Morgellons is simply boron, which could be borax, consuming it, but we prefer boron pill, and alkalizing your body. And if you do those two things, Morgellons is gone. Of course, I find that you've got to deal with the cofactors. Until you deal with the cofactors and make them history, you're going to be dealing with Morgellons, whether you're taking boron and alkalizing your body or not. The strange thing is, you know, apple cider vinegar is what he recommends, but being that 90% of us have Collembola, apple cider vinegar seems to feed Collembola and make those symptoms worse. So we go to Arm & Hammer, or our ionic minerals, to alkalize our systems, you know, baking soda. So, okay, anybody have a question for us? Chris, open up the line.
Question.
Valerie,
My name is
5127.
Hello.
Hi, yes, my name is Valerie. I have a question. This is my first time calling. I've been dealing with Morgellons, I guess, now for about 3 years, and I overheard someone talking about it, is how I recognized that it was Morgellons, and I did my own research, and I thought I had fleas under my skin. So I'd be scratching, crying, scratching, and I overheard somebody talking. They mentioned the word Morgellons, and I looked it up, and I had all the symptoms. So my question is, how do you deal with, how do you as far as your eyes, how do you keep your eyes clear? I mean,
okay,
that's my
sure.
biggest problem with eyes.
Okay, first of all, let me state that my experience is that each of us, when we're infested with these organisms, we are walking, talking, breeding parasite machines. They are breeding constantly within us, and we shed them wherever we go in our environment. So my experience is this diet that I discovered. I call it the King diet. I now call it the Morgellons diet because the world is keyword sensitive. And once you make the diet work, what happens is that you're no longer breeding them, and you can then begin working on things. At that point, when you're working with the eyes, oftentimes colloidal silver, washing your eyes with colloidal silver. In Chapter 6, there are about 5 different things listed, but I think colloidal silver eye wash is probably the most popular one. What do you think, Lucy?
So my experience with clearing my eyes was using a eucalyptus and spearmint hand wash. Of all the things I tried, tea tree oil, I tried regular soaps, I even tried some harsh shampoos, and that was really not a good thing to do. But I found at a Dollar Tree a bottle of, I think it's called Hands, Hands is the brand, and it's eucalyptus and spearmint hand soap. And I just I was washing my whole face with it, but I would spend a couple extra seconds, not hard, but gently just rubbing the eyelashes and the eyebrows. And I could sleep at night without having the feeling of something crawling or burning or being in my eye.
But yeah, I think she's referring, we get some people that have gotten actually blind from these organisms. So you wouldn't be washing your eyes with the substance you talked about. You'd want to use something like colloidal silver that wouldn't burn if you open your eyes to an eye cup.
Right.
But it did actually help with my sight, and because so I could feel little fibers right in the corner of my eyes. There were times it would just itch and become such an irritant. But that spearmint wash seemed to have helped clear it. So
okay.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And some people.
There's parasites in the corner. You can feel like little knots, little bumps or something in the corner of your eye, and I'm thinking it's parasites that you just can't flip them out, push them out.
and some people recommend using castor oil, like Lucy was talking about doing your eyes, that the castor oil might work. So there you have 3 ideas. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Marlena.
Hello.
Hi, Richard, everyone. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
So I've been dealing with this nightmare since 2017, and it seemed like it's taken different forms with me. Mm-hmm. And not having the knowledge, you just, you do think sometimes you're going insane. But to bring it forward, I have found, Richard, you described all those different types of organisms and disorders, or whatever you want to call it, parasites. I feel like I've had all of those, and I might still do, because I feel like I have the black mite. I feel like I have the struggle up, because the springtails, because I'm still dealing with all the ankle issues, that part, my feet. And then I feel like I have Collembola. I guess that's part of it. But Morgellons, because I'm constantly still feeling like there's something on my skin. And then it seemed like it impacted my sinuses, my face, my eyes, my scalp, and my neck, to the point where I have lesions around my neck. I'm constantly coughing. I feel like I'm constantly spitting up phlegm. Even when I go to talk, sometimes I get choked up. My nose capacity, like I was telling a lady earlier, that I can go through a 6-pack of toilet tissue from blowing my nose within 5 days. And it seemed like I have these little bumps, lesions around my nose, on the side of my cheek.
Okay,
and
I get the picture. Are you in the program? Are you in our program?
Yeah.
Robin, you want to answer that question?
I did. What was the question? I heard the description.
That wasn't the question.
She has terrible problems with her.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not the best at cleaning my environment, because I have a shoulder problem, and that needs to have surgery, so I'm kind of limited on how much I can do. But my concern was, I do want to start taking the nepritin.
Nitemperam? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Lufrin, but I feel like I have a thyroid disorder. I have Graves' disease, so I take thyroid medication. And I'm concerned that, I want to try it, but I don't want that to interfere with that part of my medical history. And so I need to find out if that's going to help with all the other descriptions that I just explained.
It will help, but you know what? If you're not on the diet and you're not treating your eyes and nose and hair, I don't think it's a complete solution. And Dr. Luna has said that these particular medications don't conflict with any other medicine there is in the world. You can call the people at shopformorgellons.com and ask them about it, and they will give you clear answers. But I would highly recommend getting some colloidal silver or what Lucy suggested to clean your eyelashes and eyebrows. You never want to get any kind of essential oil in your eyes. It's going to burn like heck, and it'll hurt tremendously. But
it's really interesting, you guys, because I live on the West Coast, and I have been to a lot of pharmacies and drugstores, and it's hard to find castor oil now, and I don't know what's going on with that. But
Walmart has castor oil.
We do have it in the store.
Okay.
So the number one question, have you focused on the diet?
Somewhat, I'll be honest. Yeah.
Okay. You got to go way beyond somewhat, because, my experience and many others is one little tic-tac breath mint and you're not on the diet. It's that critical in the beginning. When you get to where I am, you can eat everything you want within moderation, but it's very strict in the beginning, very complicated. This is not an easy path.
So what is the thing that causes your neck to have that issue with the lesions and the feeling like, you got your throat, like you got something in your throat?
Everybody is different. Some people, it affects their mouths, that their teeth start falling out, and their gums. Others, it affects their brain. Others, it affects other organs of the body. There are no same symptoms for any one person. Every one of us are dealing with different effects in our body.
Can I add something, Richard?
Sure.
So I have chronic sinusitis. I've had approximately 12 polypectomies. So I have some serious issues with my sinuses. So they attack my sinuses and my throat big time.
Yes.
And I found, a saline rinse for your sinuses is really critical to get that stuff out of there. If we don't, it tends to turn almost into like glue or like a plastic. So you got to keep that. And the other thing that I have torn rotator cuff, so I understand about vacuuming and cleaning. But if you can buy yourself a box fan with a 20 by 20 box fan with a furnace filter, and you put the filter on the side that pulls the air in and then blows clean air out, you would be surprised at how much you can filter the air in the rooms that you occupy the most.
That's important.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. So I buy a box fan, 20 by 20, and put a furnace filter on it?
Yep, you can just tape it on with, even packing tape, or, I use painter's tape just because it's easy to remove after. And, just turn it on, and it takes all the filaments and anything that's in the air, all the impurities, it just pulls it right through the filter and then gives you clean air on the other end. So that'll help.
Now,
even with the carpet issue?
Well, carpets really need to be vacuumed properly.
Carpets,
Could you tell me, excuse me, one second, what was the saline rinse that you mentioned? Oh, what's the name of it?
You can get saline for even for contact lenses, saline solution.
Yeah, these
now,
pouches.
Yeah.
These are little pouches. They're called Medi something or other. I don't remember.
Now,
I recommend Alkalol. You can buy it at any pharmacy. ALKOLAL, I think it is, and it's a disinfection for your nose.
One step beyond that. A few weeks ago, we had the subject was cleaning your nose, your eyes, your ears was the topic, and there's a video that we have about that. And one of the things we discussed was the Navage cleaning unit. Mm-hmm. And after I mentioned it, one of the people attending the program, she wrote in and shared that it saved her life and that it's called Navage. You can buy it. It circulates a solution in one nostril and out the other. You can add a drop of Nature's Gift to it and clean out your clean your body, clean out your nostrils real good. I think it's It's about $120. Yeah, you don't want to do more than one drop of Nature's Gift.
Is that the 100% or 50%?
100%.
Okay. So with 50%, you could do more?
Well, no, 50% is less. Yeah, 50% you would do maybe 2 drops.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is that not allowed in your nostrils? I mean, like, can I just like put a Q-tip inside and put it in my nostril?
Well, you can do that, sure. People do clean your nostrils like that with a Q-tip, but for a severe sinus issue, she used the Navage, and we do recommend it. We don't, there's pros and cons. There are people that don't say you don't want to do it long term. You just, want to do it and get your life back, and then you want to minimize. You don't want to do it all the time. You don't want to irrigate the sinuses all the time. So research it, look it up, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's next?
Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
04.
How are you today, Shannon?
I'm good. Hi. Hey, I'm just listening. It's really good conference today. I'm so sorry.
We have trouble hearing you, Shannon. We have trouble hearing you. Hello?
Hear me now?
Oh, I don't know.
Sounds like you're underwater.
Let me just
Hello? Well, you could come back later. Maybe you're on a speakerphone and you need to go off the speakerphone, or maybe on a landline.
I think
Hello?
now. Hello?
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 Speak. We can't hear silence. Shannon?
Hi. I don't think it's working.
We can hear you now.
Oh, you can? Okay. Well, hey, I just am enjoying this. I really don't have much to add in. Everything has been really helpful, though. I enjoyed this conference today. That's it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. How are you doing? How are you doing? Have you been with us a while? Are you working on the program?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. I mean, I have that environment thing, and that's really the culprit right now. It's my dog and me and the environment. But I'm doing the protocol. It's the environment, inside out.
Well, now with the dog, is the dog infected? Is the dog affected by it?
He is. Yeah, he is.
All right. Now, where does the dog do her business, or his business?
No, we covered this just a couple weeks ago outside in the Lyme, spraying the spot.
All right. So yeah, you want to disinfect it. Anybody with pets, if your pets go outside and they do their business in the lawn or whatever, that's got to be picked up. The lawn has to be disinfected with lime, then washed down, and then you got to constantly be on it. If you don't disinfect where they go, they're just going to be reinfected. Bring it back in, reinfect you. And for dealing with mites, you will never ever get rid of mites. Never, as long as you're being reinfected. Remember, nematodes, worms, those kind of parasites, they can be passed from the nose of a dog, from the lick of a dog, from the paw of a dog that touches you. You touch an infected doorknob and you can be infected with them. So it's a world of parasites we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Who's next?
Todd.
Todd, how you doing, Todd?
I'm all right. How are you?
Okay. How can we help you? What would you like to ask or share?
I really appreciate everything. That was a big help just hearing this first time. But
well, welcome.
I started taking Lutferon. I've probably done it like maybe 12 days. I was just wondering, it says to take with fat, like even like a bread and butter sandwich or something. I was wondering how much.
Just a pat of butter. You need to take it with an oil. So it can be a pat of butter that you fry your egg with, or some maybe.
I thought like a bread and butter sandwich, just a piece of bread.
Well,
real butter.
You can't eat a lot of bread on stage 1.
Real butter, nothing but real butter or ghee. You can't have margarine or blends or anything like that. It's got to be real butter. There's no grains on stage 1 except for rice, millet, and rye are the grains that are allowed on stage 1. So you'd have to make your own bread. No bread. spelt is also allowed on stage 1.
Yeah. All right. Well, but it doesn't take much real butter as far as like just a pill a day.
One a day with a pat of butter, and you want to do it for like 96 days.
At
And
least.
Yeah.
If you live in a moldy environment, they recommend that you do it forever unless you move.
Yeah, that's just it. I live on the farm, and my mom has all kinds of dogs and all kinds of stuff, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But I really appreciate. At least it seems like I got hope.
Yep, keep coming back. We're here to support you. If the animals are affected, well, then it's going to be more of a challenge. I'm not gonna make it sound sweet.
Well, I take a real dusty, real cobwebby old barn and stuff like will instantly make me.
Well, I don't know if it matters about the cobwebs and dusty. It just matters whether or not the organisms happen to be there.
Yeah.
That affect you. That's what matters. Where the organisms are. They're not everywhere. I mean, I mentioned chemtrails. We all get the chemtrails, but that doesn't. I've never heard anybody say, "Well, my Morgellons popped up after I went outside in chemtrails." No, people. The chemtrails may deliver something that makes you susceptible, but the chemtrails do not make the Morgellons. You usually contract them by being in touch with something, whether it be a rose bush that may, people say, I fell into the rose bush and I got Morgellons, or I sat on a seat at Universal Theaters and I got up and I felt Morgellons, or the way Lucy, the dog went out in the backyard, brought in the organisms. So people usually contract them from a source of where they are. They're not everywhere.
It does seem like they get worse every once in a while. Like I'll just have an outbreak of them. Just hairs.
Yeah. Now,
my fingertips like that. But.
Okay, read the book. Keep coming back. We're here to support you. Okay, and start the diet. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Who's next?
Sally, 4407.
Hi, Sally. Hello? Sally?
Carolyn, you can go. Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hello?
Hi, Carolyn.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Sally.
Oh, hi, Sally.
Oh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. And I appreciate being in on this. I didn't really have a direct question. I have so many. But I guess my thing, I am being treated right now by Dr. Saberly with the antibiotics. I've been off them for a little while because I had COVID. But the thing that I really struggle with, and filling out your questionnaire, I'm listening. I definitely think I have some kind of, mite issue of some sort. I was actually diagnosed by infectious disease of infestation of mites. Does not believe in Morgellons, but said I had Lyme with infestation of mites, but not explaining the mites to me. So I've been struggling with that, and I don't know really what I'm dealing with right now as far as the mites go.
Yes, I remember completing your questionnaire, and I sent it out to you yesterday. And
you
anybody,
did. Thank you.
Black specks or colored specks, they're either mites, or if you look at them under a microscope, they can be a tightly woven filament. So
I've actually seen both. I have a microscope, and I have seen them where all they are is very tight black. It looks like a black speck, but is absolutely filament. But then I do have other ones that are just sort of solid, but small.
So you're dealing both with Morgellons. Now remember, I'm not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate, but
no.
I can educate you, and from what I know, you're dealing with both Morgellons and mites. And there are Encyclopedia Britannica says there are over 40,000 species of mites. I think we're limited to maybe a dozen species that maybe impact us. Bird mites, rat mites, no-see-ums, red mites, things like that are the typical ones that are infected. And they often can, they burrow under their skin. And I remember one time in the wintertime I was wearing this coat and I opened up my coat and a mite flew out. You know, I gave birth to a mite. So, and I also have a book on the download page that you can look at. The book is called, what is it? Something about mites. Win the War of the Mites. So you could read Win the War. That book is there as well. But it's a lot of what we do. Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
And then we talked about the Nitemperam earlier, and that's also part of the recommendations I sent you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I got to get on that diet better.
Right. So we'll have a call and we'll go over all the recommendations maybe tomorrow or sometime a year ago. Okay, great.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Who's next, Chris?
Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn.
Are you talking about Carol Ann?
Carol Ann from Florida. You're down there with Lucy in the hot.
I am.
In the hot Everglades. Are you in the Everglades?
No, but it's hot. It's hot in Georgia, where I came from, so I think everybody's toasting a little bit. But, of course, I got well from the program and got mine, I believe, the Morgellons and the other Collembola from 2 cats where I used to live. But there are a lot of animals that come through this yard here in Florida because there's a farm down the street. So you were talking about putting the limes out, and I know Robin and I spray the stuff with the neem in it. So can you do both? Do you or Robin know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, liming your yard, people do that all the time. They spread lime in the yard, and then you might. I guess you might wet it because you don't, want animals tracing through and then licking their paws. So you wet it, it'll go into the ground.
For your grass?
What?
Is it okay for your grass to put it around?
People do that all the time. It's feeding. It's part of feeding your grass. Liming your grass. That's you can pay somebody to come in and do it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get my gardener to do it.
Okay.
That's one question. Is it Nitemperam? How are you saying it? I always call it Nitemperam.
Well, I call it I forget how I call it, but it's Nitemperam. Nitemperam is how I used to call it. And Nancy corrected me. Nitemperam is how.
Okay, Nitemperam. So I know that's for fleas. I used to give it to those outdoor cats.
Right.
Is that okay for us? Because I haven't been infected.
It kills all blood-sucking organisms. And Dr. Luna introduced it to us about maybe 2 years ago. And Robin has used it, and I've had many people write in and tell me how fantastic it works. So it can be a game changer.
How do you take it? Just one tablet a month, like a cat, or no?
No, I don't know. You have to every month I put out. Every Saturday I put out an update about one of these medications or all of them and how to take it. So watch for the update. It tells you how to take all the medications. Okay? I don't know if you take it with food or not. I don't remember all the details.
That's what's going on from this this yard. Okay.
All righty.
And the Nuvage that you were talking about, is it called Nuvage? Nuvage? Is that what y'all are talking about?
Nuvage.
Nuvage. Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's what I needed, and I got to get rid of the mess that infected me from this yard. Has been sitting a long time, and I'm having to clean all this out of the yard. But it's looking better and better and better. But my poor little ankle and legs, oh my heavens. I know. I wanted to ask, and maybe somebody online knows, what is the best thing if you have some scars? I have a few scars from where I first got infected before all that cleared up. What is the best thing for the skin of people from Morgellons and Collembola for scars? Does anybody know of anything that's very helpful?
Well, have you used our Beauty Forever creams yet? That might work.
Beauty Forever?
Beauty Forever. We have revitalization cream and exfoliant cream. Have you used either of them?
I've used the Dream Cream.
No, Dream Cream doesn't touch that.
Okay, I'll order it when I talk with
yeah. Otherwise,
Lucy,
you have any suggestions? Anything for scars?
The only thing that I can think of that might help is biotin. It'll help your skin, your hair. It helps mine.
What is
so
it?
I don't know whether it will help yours, but it helped mine.
What is that?
Biotin is a supplement that is great for your skin and your hair and your nails.
Collagen.
See what else is in it, if it's compatible with the diet. But for scars, I'd like to interrupt, sorry.
Sure.
If you can buy some gel caps of vitamin E, you poke them with a pin and rub it right on the scar 3 times a day, and it will take the scar away.
There you go.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Yeah, and
100% vitamin E.
Right, and our Beauty Forever cream has vitamin E in it.
I'm gonna write down the Beauty Forever and try to add that to it. Okay.
Okay, who's next?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Oh, hi, Richard. You know, I think they've already got all the questions answered for today, so I'm going to let you guys not listen to my long voice today. I love you, Richard. You're the best.
Love you, too. Okay. Anybody else, Chris?
That's it for today, Richard.
Okay. You know, I did get an email today, and the lady sends pictures. Oh, Lucy, don't you just love all the pictures that get posted on the sites?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you just love all the stories?
Yes, I do.
I mean, so many people waste so much time taking pictures and stories, you know. When people come here, we don't listen to stories. You know, I wanted to listen to your story, but unfortunately, because I wanted people to know that you have the experience that we have, but we don't listen to stories. We don't listen to gloom and doom. We're here about progress. We're here about getting your life back. When you look at the documentaries they have about Morgellons, it's depressing. Depressing. We're not about that. We're about success here. We have probably more success than people we have more coaches than most programs have success. That's what we're about. And I want to thank each and every one of you. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy job. I know I was ready to jump over the bridge. I know what that feels like, but it works. The diet makes a difference. It really does. So thank you so much, Lucy, for participating today and being part of our program, and I'd love to have you come back whenever you have the time to fit us in your schedule. Thank you, Robin, for being my co-host. Thank you, Sharon, for greeting and participating. I mean, Sharon is one credible success story. If you saw the lesion that covered the side of her face, and she's a beautiful lady today, no big lesion. Amazing. So, okay, love you all. Keep coming back. That concludes this portion. Are we going to do stress management, or maybe we'll skip it today?
Yeah, because it's late already.
Yeah, we did. We usually do a segment about managing stress because, I mean, life is stressful enough, and along comes the Morgellons, and nobody understands it. And doctors, you went to 100 doctors, and that's frustrating. And it's an inordinate amount of stress. And so we share techniques, and if you get do deep breathe, anything to shift the vibration. Shift the vibration away from being down and depressed. Get yourself there and do something, even knitting or something, to take your mind off of it and shift the vibrations.
Comedy shows. Comedy shows. That's
your favorite. Yep. You know that. Who wrote that book? I always cite it. He dealt with cancer and laughter. He got his life Cousins. I believe his name is Cousins, and he wrote a book about humor and you know, shifting your vibration away from the gloom and doom to something else, to direction, so that you can focus and be creative, because you can't beat this if you're not being creative. You can read and read and read, and you can do and do and do, but sometimes and that's why we're here. We're a think tank. People bring us our problems, and we help solve them so that you can get your life back. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.